So thank you all for attending the intro and orientation and hopefully at the end of this agreeing to participate fully. So there are a couple of things that I want to make sure are in line before you sort of embark on this journey with me. So I am, my name is Tanya Leek. Most of you already know me, but there are a couple of folks that have been recommended by others. So I am a health coach, fitness instructor, all around wellness advocate. And this topic of vegetarian has been something that I've been talking about for, it seems like it is 10 years. And it arose out of my healthy eating education and interventions that I had as part of the public health department in California. So we're going to explore what it is. So you probably all are kind of, well, some of you do have been exposed to this concept, but some of you may be looking like the woman here and kind of have this sort of look on your face like, what the hell is she talking about and what are we going to be doing?
Can you pronounce it again, please?
Think vegetable and then Aryan. So it's so funny. I will say most people say vegetarian. Don't put a T in there because that's
okay.
You're thinking, I think of vegetarian. So it's vegetabiliarian. So
Okay.
vegetabiliarian. All right.
Vegetabiliarian. Okay.
Yes. So we'll do a little practice at the end just to make sure. But once the topics are there, I think you'll be better. All right. Let us level set with the definition. So vegetabiliarian. This is my definition. This is a word I created. So I'm hoping Webster's and Oxford will pick up on this. So a person who maintains a diet, at least half of which is composed of vegetables. So the other stuff, it's kind of wide open field. So there is no restriction. There is really just the fact that you consume a lot of vegetables. In fact, half of what you eat. So especially if it's for not only moral, but health reasons, or just because if they come from some of the organic gardens of folks I know, wink, wink, they taste so damn good. So again, it can be an adjective, a vegetarian restaurant, etc., relating to the significant inclusion of vegetable or non-fruit plant products in the diet. And we'll talk a little bit about that distinction between fruit and vegetables in a moment. So any questions on the definition? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yay, we got some representation from our guys in the house. It's probably the duo, my favorite duo, but good to see you, Reggie, or at least someone who is in as Reggie. All right, so let's look at this a little closer. The concept of vegetarian came out of lots of research and readings that I had done, and basically it was the recognition that I had was that there's one thing that I would say that nutrition scientists do not dispute, which is that vegetables are good for you. So if you look across the various studies, and this will be a part of what the book is about, the one thing that seems to be consistent, there's other things which you can debate over, and there's sort of things on both sides, but is that vegetables contribute to overall health and well-being and have particular health benefits. So one of my favorite food authors, Michael Pollan, in his book, Food Rules, highly recommends it if you haven't read it. Very short, little book, but there a lot of very pithy, a lot of information in there. But he said, he probably planted the seed in my head, excuse the pun, but the scientists may disagree on what's so good about plants, but they do agree that they're really good for you. There are umpteen studies demonstrating that not only do they reduce the risk of dying from all the Western diseases, but they also play a role in your mental health and how you feel as well. So that's gonna be part of what I want to evaluate from you guys as you go through this process. All right. So let's talk stats. Just as a quick background, in terms of why this is important to me, why I hope this will be important to you. There are an estimated 97% of Americans that do not consume the recommended amount of fiber. There are 95% of Americans that are deficient in potassium. There are 85% of Americans that are deficient in vitamin D. 80% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. And 75% of Americans are dehydrated. And then there's some stuff around omega-3 deficiency, which is actually second in dietary risk after sodium, just so you know, in terms of things that we can change about our diet that would have an effect on our life expectancy. So we've got a couple more stats I want to introduce you to. So an estimated 50% of American adults have a risk factor for metabolic syndrome. If you don't know what metabolic syndrome is, it actually is a collection of some of the chronic diseases, including diabetes and hypertension, that are usually a part of the overall sort of metabolism and usually linked to obesity. So 35% of Americans are pre-diabetic. 33% of American adults have hypertension, and heart disease is the leading cause of death in the US. So I say all these to say that one of the things, and it was referred to by Michael Pollan, in terms of this whole concept of vegetables playing a role in disease prevention, is that a lot of the nutrients that we're talking about were missing, and a lot of the diseases related to them actually can be fulfilled by, guess what? Vegetables, right? Particularly when we're talking about fiber, potassium, vitamin D, water, and magnesium. So omega-3 is actually a very special thing, and we're not going to focus on that, but I did want you to have that sort of complete information. So all of that is just a little background to hopefully inspire you, incent you to explore this with me. And, you know, the study is really intended for me to get some specific evidence for folks who are really intentionally adopting a vegetarian approach. So there's 3 guidelines that are going to be part of the vegetarian approach. Since this is about, as we talked about from a definition perspective, consuming half of your diet with vegetables, the best way to do that, to maintain that balance, is to, I'm recommending, and the guidelines for the study are, vegetables before a meal. So before you have your meal, you actually have your vegetables. And I'm going to say before is at least an hour before, you know, or within the hour before, I should say. So you have your vegetables first, and then you have your vegetables with. So, and the USDA recommendation is that half your plate is vegetables. When you do this before and with, you will definitely get to the point where it's at least half and hopefully more. And then I'm recommending that if you are still hungry after you've had your first plate, that you have basically follow the same order, that you have vegetables before seconds. Now, I mentioned this at the very beginning. I talked about it in the definition, vegetable and non-fruit. And for our purposes, because I know I've encountered this many times when I talk to people about vegetarian, and they're like, well, you know, there's tomatoes or fruits, and anything from a botanical perspective, right, is a scientific perspective that contains a seed as part of a plant, is botanically and scientifically a fruit. However, what we are going to use for our purposes is the culinary definition of vegetables, which are considered the savory flowering plant parts. And there are some foods that, again, are classified as botanical fruits, including eggplants, bell peppers, and tomatoes, all those that contain seeds, that we are going to include in the vegetable category, so that do count towards these vegetables that I'm talking about. I have a link for you that gives a pretty good list. At this link, they have 2 lists, and we're gonna go ahead and follow it later. so you can see it before we leave. And then of course, I'm gonna send you the link, and I'm gonna send you this presentation. But at this link, it has a list of fruits, which are not savory, according to my definition here. And then they have a second list, which are fruits, again, scientifically and botanically, that actually are considered vegetables culinarily. So that will give you, that link will give you an idea of what is included in the definition of vegetables. So I'm going to stop there. Are there any questions that people have?
So Tanya, when you say vegetables before a meal, are we talking just a vegetable? For example, I've got spinach, broccoli, quiche. If I want to have that as my vegetables before my meal, does that count? Or is the fact that it has cheese and cream in it make it not a vegetable?
So the spinach and the broccoli is still a vegetable. However, so I don't want you get points for that in the second bullet. I would like you, so the guideline is really to have the vegetables themselves before a meal.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's easy when it's raw. Some people can't tolerate raw. So again, that's something that you have to sort of figure out. So yes, I would like you to consume, in this particular case, it is the vegetables themselves and not the vegetables as part of, I would consider a quiche as a meal, really, because it includes those other components. So thank you for that question.
What about how much when you say vegetables before? Because again, as I've told you before, I can snack on tomatoes. So if I pop a handful of snacking tomatoes, does that count as vegetables before my meal? Or do you want me to consume a cup?
Well, a handful is a cup, approximately. I mean, I would say, I like to have a, if you think of it, I would like it to be more than what you might classify as a side. So that it is a substantial part. Now, again, I don't want to prescribe. I'm just going to say, if you think you're having enough, have just like that extra spoonful, forkful more. So yeah, let me say that, because one of the things that I want to measure as part of this is how easy it is for you to do. And so I would say, have that handful of vegetables, whatever it is that makes sense to you. I like to have my salad first. So I usually have a bowl of salad. And again, it's a sort of standard size bowl. So somewhere in that range. But yeah, see what works for you. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. So yeah, so I would say short answer to your question is yes, that handful of tomatoes, but as you explore other vegetables, I think that's gonna change. But I will tell you that for me, it's usually a salad, or I'll have like a healthy half a plate. So basically it's almost the same thing that I have as what I have with my meal. I just might have a different vegetable, but I may have the same. So it'll be exactly the same amount.
Okay, can I ask a question? So cook or non-cook is okay, that right? Just vegetable.
Preparation is up to you, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is not before every meal. Is it just a particular meal? Like if I want to do this before lunch, or this method before dinner? Or
this is every meal.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Even breakfast.
Ha. And I will tell you that it is a common comment that I've gotten, that breakfast is, and I think culturally, we were talking about sort of Americans. I think that culturally, we don't typically eat vegetables for breakfast, right? A lot of our common breakfast foods are either sweet, like waffles or pancakes or even pastries, so it's very unusual, eggs and bacon, for us to put vegetables in there. And so one of the interesting things about again, with the definition being half of what you eat being vegetables, if you start with breakfast with no vegetables, you're behind. So yes, so my encouragement is to have them before every meal. So I can actually amend that to say that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying
So
that.
this is where you're getting creative, and I actually will. I'll talk about a couple of things that I do again. So one of the things that I love to do is to have my literal favorite is to have spinach salad with berries, with a lot of berries and some balsamic vinegar drizzled over it. It is fantastic. So that's my little. So in that particular case, I'm going to tell you. So I am having some fruit with that. So that's an option. I'll have a regular salad, but I do like that as kind of a vegetable, a breakfast option. The other option is to just have, I mean, Kanetta talked about it. I like to have sliced tomato, maybe with a little bit of a balsamic again on it. I'm big on balsamic, in case you haven't noticed. So those are some options for your vegetables. And then of course there's the vegetables before, and then of course with there's all kinds of green smoothies. There's, having the eggs with, so not just a little bit of, let's say, spinach and broccoli, you were talking about the quiche, but making sure that you're really loaded up in there. So those would be some thoughts on that.
So before has to be exactly 1 hour?
No, anytime within 60 minutes before.
Oh, 60
yeah, so
minutes.
I'm basically, you can have it right before, 15 minutes before, 30 minutes before, 45 minutes, or up to an hour. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
it's not,
easier.
yeah, it's not specific. It can be whenever. It's just saying, yeah, if you have it like a couple hours before, that's kind of changing it a little bit. But you can have vegetables anytime. This is just the main parameters.
Wonderful. Usually my breakfast, I have cucumber as a breakfast.
Oh, that perfect.
It used to be the last the order, but now I can move to cucumber first before the egg and banana and soy milk. Good,
Oh,
thank you. Yeah,
listen to you. I love it.
that is my standard breakfast. Yeah.
All right. So
Hey, John, this is right.
yes.
Hey, I got a little late, so I apologize if I missed something. But I assume that we are to record what we actually do, and if so, how do we do that?
So I'm actually going to. This is going to be on the what's it called? Our standard. I forgot what it was called. At Stanford, we had
The honor system.
the fundamental standard.
Oh,
And the honor system. Yes, it is ultimately the honor system. So yes, although in the first week, I'm glad you said that, because in the first week, I'm going to encourage you to, I put my phone number in the chat. It may not show up if you joined a little late, so I'll put it in again, to send me a picture, because I don't want to create a lot of stress for you guys in terms of recording. I am going to ask you to send a picture of maybe your meal, etc., so that's really easy for you to just snap a picture and then text me. And if I feel like, so Kanetta, in the instance you were asking the question about how much is enough before, if I feel like you're being a little conservative, maybe I'll say you may want to beef that up a little bit. So thank you for asking that question, Reggie.
unintended, beef it up.
Yes, exactly. So send me pictures. I would encourage you to send me pictures just to get a sense as to what everyone's gauge is. And all of this stuff is informational for me to understand how people perceive these types of suggestions. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So to participate, there's a couple of things that I need to make sure that I have, or that's going to be really valuable for me to actually assess how these things that I want to understand as it relates to the vegetarian approach. And the first is the pre-survey, which of course gives us a baseline for where you are. But there's also informed consent. And this is not an IRB, which is one of the formal scientific studies for publishing, et cetera. So this is an informal study. So we're not IRB, but I do want to make sure that you have read through, understand, if you haven't attended this, but that you've read through and understand the parameters, And again, all this, the stuff that you're hearing now is in there. So, but I do want to get that from you guys. So the pre-survey and informed consent forms within the first week that you start. If you can't start in the first week of August, I just want to make sure you do 30 days. So if you need to start later, just let me know so I can put your start date in the my spreadsheet. And then second, you attempt to follow the 3 guidelines. I actually want to know if you're like, you know what, this is too tough. My work schedule, my whatever schedule doesn't allow this. So that's important for me to know. I might want to interview you about that, but that is, you're attempting to do this, and this is the feedback I need. You know, is this something where you're like, oh yeah, this is no problem. And then complete the post survey, of course, because the ability to match the pre and post and understand what happened during those 30 days. So there potentially, again, as I mentioned, I might have want to talk to you a bit more based on your answers, but completing the post survey again within 1 week of the completion of the 30 days. So just so you have a sense as to what I'd like from the participants. Additional notes, of course, your participation is voluntary. You can withdraw at any time. Just please let me know. It's recommended to inform your doctor of any dietary changes that you make, especially if you're on, for instance, any kind of calorically restricted or suggested diet. If you have any chronic conditions with which you're working with the doctor. So there's a couple of things that are listed in the informed consent that it suggested that you just let your doctor know, this is what I'm planning to do. Participant data, everybody's individual data will be kept anonymous and your identity confidential. So clearly, I'm using the data to extrapolate some understandings, some knowledge. But again, based on individually who you are, that's going to be confidential. At the completion of the study, the results will be compiled and communicated to all the participants in a summary report. And again, as I mentioned, the results are going to be used in the upcoming book, Vegetablarian, A Mouthful. So that was a lot. Pause. Questions?
I'm just full listening to you.
Oh, you've had a mouthful of information.
Yeah, well, meaning I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be full just following that whole.
Yeah, and also normally I don't really eat dinner. Normally around the 3 or 4, I have a little snack like all the nuts or some yogurt for my dinner around 4, because I kind of intermittent fasting from 4 to next morning 8 o'clock. So in that, yeah.
So and I don't, so don't add meals. If that is, because that sounds like that's your last meal, I would consider that a meal. And so that would, I would say have that vegetable before and vegetable with. So
okay,
find a vegetable to accompany that. But yeah, if you, for instance, if you don't even eat breakfast, then I don't consider that a meal. Don't force yourself to have 3 meals a day. When you have meals, then yes. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
No, that's a great question. All right. So, I don't know, this is something I do in a lot of my well shops. So just a little vegetablearian pledge. So this is I'll ask you guys to do this after. So is that a hand, or are you counting the bullet points here, Christine?
I was getting ready to do my pledge.
Oh, you were going to do, she was holding up her hand. You gotta hold it over your heart. All right, so you can say this intern. I'm not gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance in front of the classroom thing. So your pledge is to define food, and this is also from Michael Pollan, as from a plant, not made in a plant. So this is clearly, vegetables are, you can get them in the bag, frozen. I always like to have frozen vegetables, I will tell you, as a backup, because if you are buying a lot of fresh stuff, frozen is a great way to kind of have something that, if you just haven't got a chance to go to the store and things go bad, whatever. So, but having it from a plant, not made in a plant. eat vegetarian. I can actually say it. Okay. Consuming as many vegetables with as much variety as possible daily. Listen to my body and what it needs to be well nourished. When it calls, rescue my body by giving it the right healing, disease-fighting foods, and we know what those are, right? Vegetables, as often as possible. And commit myself to continuing education and awareness, and of course, spread the gospel. I'm gonna call it a gospel of Vegetablearian. So thank you for joining the Vegetablearian 30-day study. I appreciate your coming to this session, and if you did not, everyone here, I believe, would have gotten the email. So you will be emailed this recording. You will be emailed the pre-survey and informed consent. And then the only other thing I didn't mention here is I will also be sending invitations for weekly check-ins. They are optional to attend. Just want to kind of give you an opportunity to talk about what you're experiencing. You can always, again, shoot me an email or a text, because remember, I don't
Voicemail.
I don't do voicemail. So I'm putting my information in the chat again. So we'll have a weekly check-in where people are welcome to come, ask questions, tell me about challenges as we're going along, and maybe we talk about suggestions. I mean, one of the things I think a lot of you guys know is I love the community aspect that allows us to all learn and grow. And then I think that's it. So are there any other questions? And how excited are you?
I'm excited.
Yay, thank you, Chip.
I'm excited about finding out what other types of vegetables or fruits, at least determining what's a fruit versus a vegetable and adding some variety.
Good question. Let me, so I'm gonna go through, let's see. We're not gonna go through all that, yeah. Oh, one thing I will tell you is that if you are not familiar, there is an organization called the Environmental Working Group. If this is a concern, again, I don't want to complicate things, so have the vegetables. They do have this concept of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And so if you're wondering whether or not you should get organic, and the Dirty Dozen is the fruits and vegetables, and so vegetables are on the list, that are considered more, they have the highest quantity and levels of pesticides and other chemicals. And so they recommend that if you're gonna get organic, that those are the ones to get organic. The Clean 15 are the ones that are rarely found with a lot of that sort of residue. So you can sort of forego the organic with those. Having said that, there are also studies that show that vegetables are valuable whether or not they're organic. So even if you get something on the Dirty Dozen that's not organic, it's okay. So if you're trying to make that choice, this is a good, sort of place to say, oh, okay, it's worth spending that extra money, which it will be. All right, so I'm gonna actually go.
Oh, I like that, because I'm noticing that a lot of the Dirty Dozen is in my garden.
All right. Well, that's it. That's actually, I have to update that graphic. That's actually the 2015 graphic. They do change every year because they actually retest every year. So yeah, let me just bring
I have a quick question, Tanya.
Yes.
So for those of us, oh, hang on, I have to answer the door. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, let me just, I'm gonna share this. So it was Safari. Where's my Safari? There we go. So there is a very, very long, so this is the link that I sent you with the list of fruits, right? And as you can see, it even says here that fruits on the list are defined as the word is used in everyday speech, and it does not include vegetables, whatever their origin. So lots of things here. Avocado, and they've got some things that, very international things. But this is a fairly comprehensive list, just so you know. Then there's this second list, which is going to be included in our vegetable definition. So anything above this line is not. So the tangelo, the tamarind, they actually have tomato on both. We're going to include tomato as a vegetable. So anything in this area, olive, pumpkin, squash, eggplant, jalapeno, cucumber, is considered a vegetable.
Good.
Okay. So
Olive,
that is
nice.
Oh, that a lot. Yeah. Zucchini, pumpkin, squash. I'm raising a lot of pumpkin in my backyard. That's good.
Oh my. Okay. Well, let's see how that goes.
I didn't know there was even a question about zucchini and squash.
They've got seeds.
I see. Oh, good. Peas. I have peas in my backyard too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm back with my question.
Okay.
Okay, so for those of us who are doing the protein as well, your other study, is there a list, or maybe it's in your other video, of vegetables high in protein? Or is there such a thing?
Yes, it is in the presentation that I sent.
It was, okay, all right.
Spinach.
Besides spinach, I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone.
Okay, yes, and I love that. I love that concept. I'm gonna see if I can bring that up really quickly. Before we go there, because I know that's a bridge, is there any other questions, anybody? And keep in mind, this is my first informal study. If there's any suggestions that anyone has, I am open to those as well. Okay, is everybody ready to start eating lots more vegetables?
I have to go food shopping.
What's that, Reg?
I said, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So Reg, by the way, he's being accompanied by his lovely wife. So they are in this together. And I actually encourage you, if you have people that are close to you, especially if they live with you, that's a great support mechanism. And, Janine, you were talking about sort of exploring, we saw the list, but I really encourage you. One of the other things, I'll make sure I send you a link to, there are a couple of seasonal vegetable charts, and that's by location, but where you can start to explore things based on seasons. There are also some, I think I might have a link for this as well. There are also some organizations that deliver produce, and they deliver the produce that is in season. So it actually, I've used them both in California and here in Atlanta. It's enabled me to try, new vegetables. So I hadn't tried sweet potato greens before, and they were fantastic. I found out that I love them. So, and I didn't even know the sweet potatoes had greens on top of them. So that's also another opportunity. So I will actually send that, the seasonal vegetable and then the vegetable delivery. There is a site that has a couple of them. So if you want to use that during this period and really explore that, they're usually about somewhere between $25 and $35 a week. And they'll give you, I get for the individual, for myself, because I'm single. And so they give you a box that's enough for you throughout the week to try different vegetables. So, and you can usually
sweet potatoes and potatoes are a vegetable, right?
That is correct. I am not saying anything about all of the vegetables are in the pool.
But you would prefer that the vegetable you start with not be some French fries or something like that, right?
So I'm not even going to call out French fries. I'm going to suggest that any fried vegetables are probably taking away from the vegetables. So even if you fry some zucchini, or I went to this one festival here in Atlanta, and they had fried zucchini, fried avocado, they had fried everything. They had all the vegetables, but they were all fried. So I'm just going to suggest that, yes, frying a vegetable is basically tantamount to killing it. So I would suggest that your preparation, and we'll talk about that in some of the weekly check-ins too. And the check-ins will also be recorded, by the way. I'm going to suggest that frying the vegetable period is not as beneficial. You won't get a lot of the benefits.
Got it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I won't call out French fries, but that tends to be the go-to. for people when they try to, but French fries are a vegetable. Oh my God. I'm just gonna say fried kills the whole vegetable concept.
Mm.
So thank you for that question. That will definitely go on the FAQ because I know that's gonna come up.
That defeats the purpose, isn't it?
I'm going to say that. Some people would argue. So, okay, anything else? And I'm going to cover the protein thing, but I just want to let anybody that needs to go. Well, actually, I guess I did say until 3. So, but it's never bad to end a meeting early if you get what you need to get done. Right? Okay, so let me answer this question about protein and vegetables. And for a little background for folks that don't know, one of the things that I do with my my wellness community, the folks who are members of the Embody Well classes, we do some well shops. And one of the recent ones that we did was maximizing your protein. And the reason why was because protein is one of those sort of nourishing nutrients that has been proven to, and I'm gonna just share this with you guys. We don't have to go through this. Basically can lead to greater weight loss and improvements in, again, we talked about metabolic syndrome, in those biomarkers that usually are a part of that than standard protein diet. So really kind of bumping up the protein. And also protein-enriched diets have been shown to help you retain your lean body mass at the same time. So especially for those of us who are getting older, and all of us are getting older, it's just a matter of where we are on the cycle, you know, retaining lean body mass becomes more and more important. And if you are working out and you are undergoing any kind of, especially a weight loss journey, you want to make sure that you don't lose your muscle. So protein and how much protein you're getting is absolutely critical. So I'm not going to go through everything here, but so when we talk about high protein veggies, now let's keep in mind that the top of the food chain as far as proteins is flesh protein, right? You're going to get the most from the smallest amount when you're talking about your beef, your poultry, and then the only sort of non flesh protein that is fairly high in protein would be your soy, so tofu and things like that. Now, having said that, there are lima beans are actually very high. If you like lima beans, go ahead and, you know, get a little bit of lima beans in there, and you can get a nice bang for your buck. Your soybean sprouts, and sprouts in general are great to try. You know, you can put them on a salad. Any sprouts, broccoli sprouts, and anything that sprouts is the early emerging part of the plant, and so there tends to be a lot of growing potential, and what that translates into for us is a lot of nutrients and nourishment. So then you've got your green peas, your spinach. So this is kind of in order. Your sweet corn, but you can see, just for comparison, you know, when we talk about lima beans at 11.6 grams per cup cooked, when you talk about 4 ounces of chicken, you're talking about somewhere between 20 to 25 grams of protein. So again, that's just a protein thing. But if we're talking about getting some protein out of your vegetables, then these are kind of the high ones. Then you've got corn, sweet corn, asparagus, artichokes if you like them, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, broccoli. And then you'll see some on the side, some of the greens, which for those people who have cooked greens, you know, when you cook greens, they cook down, right? They really shrink. So a lot of these protein measurements are by the actual raw chopped per cup measure. So if you think about it, if you get a lot of them and you cook them down and they actually, you know, I would say, I don't know if anybody has any, I need to do this as a test, but I would say if you have a cup cooked, that you're probably around 5 times the cup raw, because they just, I mean, I actually get depressed when I make my spinach because, I make the spinach and I like put a whole bunch in this saute pan, and then I come out with, maybe a serving, maybe a pre-meal, then I got to make some more for the meal itself. So, yeah. So does that answers your question?
Yes,
Julie?
thank you. Thank you for sharing that
Okay.
again.
And
Thank you.
and again, the presentation, I'll go ahead and send this slide to folks as well.
Mm.
And just for your information, my food data is the US government database for food information, for nutrition information, and it is usually where most companies source their data in order to create the nutrition facts label. So so that's where I sourced this information. It is really annoying, but you go to different sites and you might see slightly varying amounts of protein, et cetera. But that's that. So my source I'm using is the publicly available database. I think it's myfooddata.gov or .org. I don't remember. But if you wanted to go there and see, this is a site that kind of basically picked out the vegetables highest in protein. All right. And if anyone in the Vegetablarian study would like this presentation, let me know. I'm happy to send it to you. This, again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we talked about, what the recommended amount of protein is for you, and then what the stretch is, especially if you are trying to build muscle, participate in endurance type activities, long runs, 5Ks, 10Ks, up to marathons. If you're trying to, gain muscle. And so there's a variety of things to actually assess your protein goals for the day. Okay. All right. Go Vegetablarians, go. Everybody feels empowered. Okay, so you should be seeing an email from me. Again, it's not too late. If you want to have someone, as I mentioned, do it with you, please feel free to send on the email. I just need to make sure that I have the informed consent and the pre-survey by this time next week in order to confirm that they're on the list. So they just have to email embodywell.com with that.
Did you send the email out to us already, the form?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see it, I thought maybe I missed it. Okay, good.
Nope, you have not missed it. That's something you'll get this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Go forth and be vegetablearian.
All right, I'm cooking vegetable now.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Tanya.
And remember, I'm available for questions at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Tanya. Bye.